Inner child work is nothing more than a never-ending path of procrastination disguised as self-discovery. It doesn't fix anything. Let me explain to you why it's quite possibly one of the stupidest things to overtake society here. Listen, I'm all about analysis, understanding what the problem is, but so many people are just focused on the analysis and not the actual solution. Okay? These things by themselves are absolutely fucking worthless. Just because someone can tell you what's wrong does not mean they can tell you what's right. Anyway, if you were having a hard time in the business world, the corporate world, and you were having a hard time getting along with people, delivering projects, would you start doing this inner child work nonsense to figure out why, what patterns you developed from as a kid? No, you'd be like, your friends and family tell you, you better get your fucking act together. You're gonna be fucking homeless very soon. You would never be exploring this fucking nonsense, inner childhood bullshit if you were having problems making money and making a living. You would basically know very quickly, you better get your fucking act together. You're gonna be on the fucking street. The world has zero sympathy for people that just can't seem to survive and make their way in the world here. We're taught very early on, you better go to college, you better be productive, you better fucking comply and do what you gotta do here. You would never be doing this inner child work nonsense if you're having problems in your relationships or your ability to deliver work. It doesn't matter what kind of childhood shit you had going on here, you better either perform or you're gonna be in big fucking trouble. So why do we coddle people when it has to do with people's ability to perform in their emotional relationships? Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. And by the way, before I go any further here, before you try to poke holes in what I'm saying or try to label me some kind of just whatever influencer here, listen, I've been coaching for over 10 years. I've coached thousands of men and women. I'm the author of Refocus on Power. Do not discount this as some kind of, just influencer trying to give you their 2 cents. I probably have more video testimonials than anybody you'll come across on planet fucking Earth. I do know a little thing or two about what I'm talking about here. On that note, if you're just here to poke holes and give me your 2 cents and hide behind some kind of bullshit username and tell me about some study, listen, if you personally have not coached and helped at least hundreds of people and can prove it with actual video testimonials, then you can shut the fuck up and be quiet and go hang out in the corner here. You have no idea what you're talking about. All that should matter to anybody here listening to this is going through a relationship challenge is fucking results. The only results you should care about is fucking feeling good. You feel good, you speak better, you make better decisions, and that's not a concept. Just like in the gym, you can't will your way or read your way to bench pressing, 200 or 300 pounds. You'd have to build that physical strength. In this case, you'd have to build that emotional strength. That's why most people are fucking having a really, really, really hard time. But why do we coddle people and analyze things to fucking death? I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyway, if you were having problems in your work world, you would not be fucking going to a therapist to do some kind of inner child work. You'd be like, I better get my fucking act together, and I better learn a real skill so this doesn't happen to me again in the future here. I better be able to perform, make money, otherwise I'm gonna be on the fucking street. That's what you'd be doing. So it's absolutely ridiculous that we coddle people and we let people make excuses or go down this rabbit hole of procrastination called inner child work. Analysis fucking paralysis. The path to, actually, let me do this here. Let me go through some literature online and give you some very thoughtful and constructive, if not incredibly critical feedback on how ridiculous this stuff is. So anyway, here we go. Okay. What is inner child? Inner child is a psychological concept that represents childlike aspects of our personality and emotional state. It's a metaphorical way of describing the younger parts of us that sometimes energize when we're faced with stressful or traumatic situations. Again, if you're going through stuff at work and stuff like that and you're not able to perform, you would not be doing this inner child work nonsense. You better be like, you would understand, you better either fucking perform or you're gonna be in fucking big trouble here. The only reason why people are being lazy, emotionally lazy in their romantic relationships and in their the relationships in general is because they're being given the opportunity to do so. People are being given the get out of jail free card to be fucking lazy, so they're doing that. They would never ever do this in their work world. They would never do that because they know the world would not stand for that. I mean, their cars would be possessed, they'd be fucking kicked out of their house. They're only doing this because they can get away with it. They're hiding behind this inner child work nonsense because they know they can. They're being allowed to not have to actually confront it head on with real solutions. Anyway, continuing onwards here. So how do you know if your inner child is activated? Listen, all of our inner child is, you know how your inner child's activated? Because you live a fucking life. Every human being has challenges, has disappointments, has things that didn't go their way. We all do. I mean, if we all fucking looked at it like that, then we'd all be in the fucking counselor's couch every fucking day. We all have challenges, but challenges can be incredible opportunities to become our greatest self. Remember, Superman wouldn't be Superman without Lex Luthor. We need these challenges. So why are we not celebrating these challenges instead of like, oh my God, you need 10 years of fucking inner child work? This is all a bunch of complete garbage nonsense. So the bottom line is, there's not even solutions there. It's all analysis focused. All, looking back and what fucking went wrong, rather than looking to the future and fixing it so this doesn't happen again. Anyway, we all have this inner child. We all have had challenges. So, I mean, are we as a society all gonna be on the fucking couch the next 10 fucking years? This is ridiculous. I don't know how the society got to this point here. Anyway, what is inner child work? By the way, it should be called inner child analysis, inner child discovery. There's no work. It's just looking back. Anyway, inner child work involves healing emotional wounds and traumas from our childhood. It's based on the idea, not a fact, that our early experiences in relationships with parents, caregivers, and other significant people in our lives leave a lasting impact. Of course it does. That's true. I mean, I've had my own fucking life. I've had challenges that make things a little more challenging for me in my work, the way I showed up. I had certain guides with my parents and friends and family and my upbringing. Of course I did. But again, let's look and I like to bring people to Common Sense Corner here. If these earlier experiences I had affected my ability to perform in society and do work and get a job, I better get my fucking act together very fucking quickly. Society would not stand for me being fucking lazy. I mean, unemployment only lasts so fucking long, right? And people learn this very quickly. That's why everyone's forced to be out there and work and perform, because society has zero fucking tolerance for that. If we as a society actually had no tolerance for people being emotionally lazy, emotionally irresponsible, people will not be doing all this like nonsense stuff, treating people like garbage, treating people less than they deserve. They wouldn't do it if society actually had no tolerance for it like they do in the work world. But anyway, the idea of inner child work is one of the biggest self-imposed handicaps that we as a society are allowing. It's all a bunch of nonsense, labels, bullshit. What's the solution? The solution is actually very, very, very simple. Again, I like my analogies here. If you weren't doing very well physically and you got winded and you didn't have a lot of energy and strength, how would you handle that? You go to the fucking gym. You wouldn't be spending time on the counselor's couch and inner child work nonsense. You'd understand. If you want to perform better physically, you better strengthen physically, not require workout. You do need the same thing for your emotional muscles. There is something called the science of neuroplasticity. It's not called the theory of neuroplasticity, unlike these other fucking theories out there. And every human being on planet Earth has incredible ability to strengthen if they actually treated the brain for what it really is, a different kind of muscle. Step number 2. Again, I'm not saying I'm the only one, I have the only way, but I do believe I can prove I have the fastest way to strengthen emotionally. But bottom line is, you don't have to work with me, but you do owe it to yourself to find yourself, if you really love yourself, to find who you believe is numero fucking uno in delivering that brain gym workout. You must work directly with them. Think of yourself like a professional athlete in the sport of life. If you were a tennis player, for example, trying to become a tennis player, would you try and do that with YouTube? Fuck no. You get Andre Agassi, you get Serena Williams, you get the best person to give you that personal course correction to get there. This is what I teach is not complicated, but the complexity is the execution. You would need somebody to give you that course correction to make sure you're actually doing it right. Just like you'd hire a personal trainer in the classic sense for the physical muscles, you'd want that for that process for your emotional muscles. And some people can prove they're better than others. You should go on my YouTube channel and take a look. There's a much better way if you're going through a tougher relationship challenge, a breakup, divorce. You'd be pretty fucking surprised how much of a difference 3 days could make if you actually had the right workout. Last thing here, I don't have any problem with inner trust, because I don't like these fucking counselors and therapists having you do inner child work for the next 10 fucking years. I can speak the way I speak for a reason. You're welcome to start my book. As long as it's clear, the book does not hold a candle to working directly with me. Obviously, the book I'm not talking back to you. Obviously, there's no feedback. There's no course correction. It's a different experience here. The book, I designed the book for people. I understand we live in a skeptical world, because I assure you, if you read my book, you're going to want to work with me. But also designed because I understand not everyone can pull a certain amount of money out of their hat. So the book is designed so that anybody can at least get started at some level. Okay, it is what it is here. But you should be buying the book only because you want to work with me directly and personally. Do not buy the book thinking it's the final solution. We also live in a lazy society where people are trying to read their way or YouTube their way to the winner's circle. Stop fucking doing that. That's not what the people that achieve the highest levels of excellence do. They understand the importance, the critical importance of mentorship. And it is what it is. Again, Andre Agassi is more likely to take you to Wimbledon than the local $10 an hour tennis coach. Here's what I would say for you here. If you're going through a tough time in your relationships, stop fucking around with Band-Aid fucking formulas. Stop this fucking non-stop process of self-discovery that never fucking ends. It should be focused on solution, and the solution's simple. It doesn't matter what you've gone through the past here. You need to feel better about your ability to handle challenges in the future. And that starts with your emotional strength. You feel good, you speak better, you make different decisions, you can hold your boundaries. That is the crux foundation for what you're looking for, regardless of your fucking childhood. And by the way, I'm speaking to everybody here, including myself here. You don't know me, you don't know what I've been through. I've had my own challenges. I was abused as a kid. I've had my own fucking challenges. But the difference is I understood, looking back in the past, not focusing, making the primary focus on solutions is a waste of fucking time. When I feel better, if I was bullied by kids in school, if I'm stronger, I'm more likely able to defend myself. So who gives a shit how many times I got my ass kicked when I was a kid? I want to prepare for the future. If you're having tough relationship challenges where you're finding yourself in constant binds, you're not able to hold your boundaries, then you need to find an emotional strength to hold those boundaries better in the future. Why would you sit there and just dissect the past for the next 10 years? That's what a waste of fucking time. You should get the emotional strength so you can handle in the future, strengthen preemptively for the future challenges. That's what you should do. Simple. But stop with this inner child work nonsense here. Analysis fucking paralysis. What a waste of fucking time. Anyway, love to hear your comments. Even if this is waking you up from the fucking matrix, then great. I'd love to hear what you have to say here. If you'd like to have a conversation with me, awesome. If you do buy my book, please message me personally so we can have a conversation after you've read it, okay? Anyway, we'll talk soon. Ciao for now.